Maybe if I look out that way, it'd be...
Good evening. I am Ralph Berkeley. As moderator this evening, I would like to welcome each candidate for the Beloit City Council and members of the audience to the 2017 Candidates Forum. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Beloit League of Women Voters, the NAACP Beloit Chapter, and the Greater Beloit Area Chamber of Commerce. The forum this evening will be taped and will be shown before the April 4th Election Day on Beloit Access TV, Channel 992. For the first part of the forum, questions were prepared by the sponsoring organizations. As the moderator, I will direct the same two questions to all of the candidates, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. A timekeeper will keep us on schedule. For the second part of the forum, prepared questions will be selected at random by the moderator and directed to a specific candidate. The candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. If other candidates wish to answer the same question, they will have 30 seconds to respond. For the third part of the forum, members of the audience are invited to write questions on the 3x5 cards provided. Audience questions should not be directed to one specific candidate, nor should the question be of a personal nature. A member of the sponsoring organizations will collect the cards. Finally, at the end of the question and answer period, each candidate will be given the opportunity to give closing remarks. Closing remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. And candidates, please, when you are ready to respond to a question, turn your microphone on. And when you're not speaking, turn your microphone off. Thank you. At this time, I will introduce each candidate for City Council. To my immediate right, we have Mr. Clinton Anderson, Ms. Sherry Blakeley, and Ms. Nancy V. Forbeck. To my immediate left, Ms. Jeanette Hansen, Ms. Anna Kelly, and Ms. Rose Richard. We will now begin part one of the City Council Forum. All candidates will answer this question. What is your reason for running for City Council, and what do you feel is the most important issue in this election? And we will start this question with Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. My name is Clinton Anderson, and I think the reason why I'm running is because I want to see the image of Beloit change. Many of you that live inside the city of Beloit know the city to be pretty good. It's a great city to live in. But some have this negative connotation of the city of Beloit and have this, misconception about the way the city is ran. And I want to change that. That's the whole goal of my race. It's the whole reason why I'm running. I think the biggest issue also ties into that, changing the image. And I think the best way to do that is to continue to reduce crime. Little do people know, crime is actually going down in the city of Beloit, which is a great thing to see. So I think that is the top issue, is to focus on reducing the crime rates inside the city of Beloit. That is going to be the biggest thing to change the image of Beloit and also change that reputation.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. We will now hear from Ms. Hansen.
Thank you. I'd like to build on the success that we've seen in Beloit over the years. I'm a Beloit native. My family's been here for 110 years, so we've seen a lot of changes. I see great things happening in town, and I want to be a part of building on that. I think our biggest challenges are with jobs and job training in particular, getting our new workforce and the existing one ready for what new employers are bringing to town so they can really hire local and keep our talent here.
Thank you. Ms. Blakeley.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I want to work for Beloit and help it be put on the map in a positive way. I think communications are at the heart of the matter because we do have so many positives going on throughout our city, whether it's downtown or in individual neighborhoods, whether it's the riverfront or Beloit Public Library. I just think that people who don't live here and love the city the way we do don't realize how wonderful Beloit is. The recent PBS show on Beloit that was filmed last summer was a great testament to what we really are all about and what's at the heart of the matter when it comes to beautiful Beloit. So I do believe that communications are the most important challenge of the city, and under that umbrella come things like economic growth, attracting jobs for Beloiters, honoring our diverse community and making the most of it, listening to people in all the different parts of our city and working for all the neighborhoods in total, and sustaining and revitalizing what we do have. So thank you very much. I really want to put Beloit on the map in a positive way.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly.
Yes. In this room, a lot of you already know me and know that I can speak, and I love to talk. But if you want me to stay quiet, all you have to do is put a microphone or a camera in front of me. So, why am I running? So after losing last election, I was a little gun-shy about running again, and I felt that if Dave Lukey likes me, then I must be okay. So here I am again. I served in council for 2 years, and in those 2 years I learned a great deal about how the city runs, how things work, and how things get done. I'm running again for several reasons. There's some unfinished business. My first term was taken up with city budgets, hiring a new city manager, the police and fire department issues. There was virtually no time left to why I ran in the first place. There are several things I never got a chance to address. I believe the condition of our neighborhoods and our housing stock is important for the city. It's important to attract people to live in this city. I like to work on that. The current circumstances around communications in the community, it's been brought to my attention many times lately that things are happening and people feel like they can't say anything until it's over. I know that information is there. I just think that it's hard to find. You have to be really motivated to find the information, even though I know it's available. I will also continue providing support and encouragement for continued job growth for those who actually live in Beloit and are willing to become my neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Forbeck.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming. It's nice to see so many people here. I am running because I want to get involved, but not only do I want to be involved, I want to be a part of continuing this march that we're having towards excellence. I've been lucky enough in my past jobs to have been involved with some of the things that have changed in Beloit, like Beloit 2020, the downtown improvements, bringing different companies in, being aware that there's a need for more communication among ourselves, being also aware that we have to always be paying attention to the quality of life for all of us through parks, through things to do, in the evening, public safety, all of those things. The quality of life has been so important to me in Beloit, and I'm excited, if you give me the chance, to be able to really be part of this partnering of all these people who are working to keep things excellent, make them better, or initiate some good ideas. One of the things I think is important for a counselor is to be willing to say yes. When someone comes with a good idea, a business has a good idea or wants to come in, or a citizen says, wow, look at this. Is there something that can be done? So I'm willing to say yes. I'm excited about being part of it and look forward to not only partnering, but persistence in getting things done. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Richard. The red light comes on, it's on. it's on. Yeah.
Okay. Hi. I'm running for city council because I want more young people to feel like they can get involved in politics. And I also want them to feel like it's their responsibility to construct what their city is going to look like and how their city is going to develop. I think there's a lot of young people that don't feel like they have a place or a voice in politics, and I think it's important to make them feel included so that they can take on the responsibilities they need to keep this city going. I also think that Beloit needs diversity in leadership. And by this, I mean people from different backgrounds, but also people of different ages, people of different income levels, people who come from a lot of different places. Everybody should feel involved and included and respected in the city. And I think one way to do that is by having a lot of different people from diverse backgrounds who represent different people on the city council. I think one important issue is community involvement. I think more people need to be aware of what's happening in the city and aware of the strengths. And I think I can be the person to help raise awareness of a lot of the really important things we have going on in this city and help people from different backgrounds to get involved in that and to start having a role and a responsibility in where this city goes for the next several years. Thank you.
Thank you. All candidates will answer this question. What are some of the official duties and responsibilities of a city council member, and contrast that to the role of the city manager? And the first person to answer the question will be Ms. Hansen.
The duties and responsibilities of a city council person, first and foremost, I believe, is to listen to the community, and then to set policy, review the budget, which is a big responsibility, being that the city has a $90 million budget and over 500 staff members in the city, and also to be the accountable part of our government to the city. We're the ones that the people can come and talk to, and then we talk with our colleagues and see how we can solve problems for people that live here. We are also responsible to prioritize policy and the budget. Budgets are always tight. This coming year is going to be no exception. We have to look at everything and make some tough choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blakeley.
It's the responsibility of city council members to work out that balanced budget, as it's already been said, a very challenging and absolutely crucial part of work as a city councilor. It's also our responsibility to set priorities for the city and policy for the city. We work with the city manager, who is our only employee, and we listen and respond to the citizens of Beloit. We represent the city of Beloit. As far as the city manager herself goes, as I said, Lori Luther is our one employee, but at the same time, she is like the CEO of our city. So the council gives her direction and asks her to carry out the priorities that we set here. We work with her in cooperation and respect. And having talked to Ms. Luther on many occasions, I know it will be easy to treat her with respect, and I know that she is very willing to talk to us counselors, to receive our information and encouragement and sometimes criticisms. We need to bring her attention, our city manager's attention, to particular concerns and issues that are important to the city of Beloit. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly.
Well, this question always comes up, and I think it's very important.
Your microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should know better. This question always comes up, and I think it's very important. The city hired the city manager as the expert to run the day-to-day operations of the city, and the city manager is the council's chief advisor. As a councilor, we're elected to represent all the citizens of the city. As a council member, we're part of a group that votes on ordinances, approves budgets, and sets direction for the city. It is always important when we're representing individuals that we weigh the needs of the individual within the context of the city as a whole. We're not experts at everything the city does. That is why we have very talented people working in those jobs. As a council, we're represented with a lot of information, and we need to do our best to inform ourselves, ask many questions in order to make informed decisions. Done.
Thank you. Ms. Forbeck.
I was privileged to, in my work life, to serve on boards, but also at the Convention and Visitors Bureau and at the Chamber to report to boards. So I have to say, I think I know very well the difference between what a councilor does and what our city manager does. Everyone has touched on these things so far. Of course, having the tough decisions about the budget and policy is essential work that we do. And there again, I've already talked to some people when I'm out and about in the city and saying to them, if I am lucky enough to be voted in as a counselor, I need more ears and eyes out in the community to tell me what's really happening there. You know, what do you see? Where can you see an issue coming up? That is the kind of thing that we then, as council members, bring to Lori Luther, to our city manager, saying, you know what, I think that we decided on this and it was a great thing, but this is what's really happening out there. So there really is a difference. We need to represent everyone, we need to make hard decisions, and we need to respect our, as you said, CEO. Again, part of the reason for running and having it be a pleasure to run right now is that Beloit is lucky in having a professional be our CEO. I think that choosing the city manager type of government has been wise of us all these years.
Thank you. Ms. Richard.
I think the role of the city councilor is first and foremost to represent the people. We are elected by the city. We are elected by residents, and that means that we are responsible to make sure that their concerns and that the things that affect them is heard once we pass ordinances and make changes to the structure of the city. And we also help to set priorities and where the city goes forward. The city manager, on the other hand, will make an expert decision on things that may be tough to take for the residents. So the city manager will make those decisions, and we as a city councilor, we as city councilors work with her to make sure that her decisions benefit people in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
Well, one of the things is that we listen to the people of Beloit. That's step one of the city council. We listen to you guys. I've been out knocking and meeting people almost every day of the week, and I've been listening to the issues you guys have brought to me. So if I'm lucky enough to be elected, I will take those to the council. And that is probably one of the most crucial things we do. We also set ordinances, and we also set the budget. So, you know, that is incredibly crucial, too, that we have someone that can set a balanced budget, make the decisions that might not be easy. It might be difficult to make. But then when it comes to city manager, she is the connection to the rest of the city employees. We communicate, and she gets input from the staff, and it comes back to us, and we give the goals that we want to have to them. So she's kind of the middleman, so you could say, to the city staff and us. And then when also we also make suggestions to them from commissions and committees too. So we do have a lot of things that we do on the council that might not get noticed and might not get respected, but that's just some of the many things we have to do on the city council.
Thank you. The next set of questions will be selected at random by the moderator and directed to a specific candidate. The candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. If other candidates wish to answer the same question, they will have 30 seconds to respond. The first question goes to Ms. Blakeley. What specific ideas do you have to help enhance Beloit's economy?
Beloit's economy depends on jobs and businesses and the tax base. I do believe that once again, communicating our positives to the outside world will help in all these areas. Our downtown has gone through a major revitalization in the past few years, and our Downtown Business Association is very active, very astute, and very wonderful at assisting small businesses. We need to have more small business encouragement, especially for parts of our city that maybe don't have as much economic activity, such as the west side. We need to keep getting word out there that our neighborhoods are good and are improving because of our responsible citizens. We need to get word out there that we have great facilities available here for businesses. So essentially, we need to sustain what we already have and show a lot of support, especially for small businesses, and encourage industry to come in and to hire Beloiters to work in their places. So those are my main points.
Thank you. Any other candidates wishing to answer the same question? Mr. Anderson, go ahead. You have 30 seconds.
Going off what she said, we also need to bring in jobs that pay a living wage. We can't just keep having the same low-income jobs. If we want to boost the economy, we need to give Beloit residents a wage that they can go out and be involved in the economy. Because right now, too many people in Beloit don't have enough money to go out and get involved in downtown Beloit, which is one of the crown jewels of the city. So, like I said, we need to find good, quality, high-paying jobs to come into the city of Beloit.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to respond? Ms. Kelly.
Well, I believe that cities is bringing jobs in. There's a lot of people working in Beloit. There's plenty of jobs. I see ads for jobs all the time. I think we need to be able to attract these people to come and live in Beloit. And I think part of the issue with that is that we have an old housing stock, and people just can't find the houses that they want when they come to look for them.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to respond to this question? Seeing none, we'll go to the next question. This question will be directed to Ms. Kelly. A component of the City of Beloit strategic plan is to enhance community communication. As a potential member of the City Council, how would you address this component of the strategic plan, enhancing community communication?
Okay, I can answer that question. Because I work with digital communications all the time, I think we need to, first of all, we need to get the city website redone. And I think we need to have a group of people from the community take part on how we will rebuild that site. Because when people use the website, it's different than when people who work here use the website. We need to be able to let them, how do you use it? How do you get in? What information do you find? I have many examples of wonderful websites for the city, for city websites, they do a great job. That's when people are used to getting their information at their fingertips and not the way they used to, and I think we need to provide that for them. So for that, that's one thing that I think we need to be able to get to them. Good information online at all times when you need it. That's one of my biggest things. As far as also right now, when you go look for things on the website, a lot of them are PDFs, which means that you can't translate them. We have a good percentage of our population who have language barriers. We need to be able, for them to be able to find that information as well. Not to mention that we need to be able to get people in the city that speak Spanish so they can help those residents, because the more involved our residents are, the better our community is going to be overall.
Thank you. Any other candidate wishing to answer the question? Yes, Ms. Blakeley.
I agree that we need a stronger social media presence these days. I mean, everyone from the President of the United States on down is using social media to advantage or disadvantage, at least getting word out there. I do believe that we need great transparency of government, and the more that we as individual counselors communicate with people of the city, the better. I think we could use a new city logo. The old one's pretty good, but it could be better. And communications within city government itself, as well as out to the community, could be improved. We have a good relationship between us and the Beloit Daily News. We could be getting even more press if we were more proactive about seeking it.
Thank you, Ms. Forbeck.
I just wanted to point out an area that I thought was wonderful this way. We had just gotten back from being gone for a while, and I'm not sure if it's Sergeant or Detective Flanagan from the police department was sending out wonderful emails almost every day. They were informative about what was going on in the police department, and often they were funny and witty, and it gave such really good information about what the city was doing. And also what it did was invite you in. It was very, very personal. So I'm sure as a city council, we would all like to encourage this happening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond to this question? Ms. Richards?
I think that in addition to a strong social media presence and also a website, I think we should do things such as make sure that all the notes from commission meetings are available for people and easily accessible. I think we should also do more word of mouth outreach with people and encourage more people to actually come to meetings and to participate. Make sure that all the dates and locations are easily available for everyone, and send out invites. I think we need to get more people coming in to meetings and more people participating in what's happening. That way they'll understand what's going on and they'll have more excitement about telling their friends and family. So I think we need to do a little bit more than just media, but we also need to invite people in.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will be directed to Ms. Richard. The percentage of rental properties is increasing in Beloit. What could city officials do to encourage people with modest incomes to become homeowners in the community?
I think one thing that we can do is to raise awareness of organizations that exist to help people buy homes and help people manage funds so that they can afford them and keep them up. So I know there's an organization called Neighborhood Works, and I think more people should know about that so that they can attend the meetings and training sessions. I also think that we need to make sure that the homes are in very good quality and that people feel like once they get a home, they'll be able to afford it and they'll be able to keep it up, and that the houses around them will also be in good condition and quality so that their investment is not wasted or diminished in any way.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Yes, Ms. Hansen.
Thank you. I think the supply of housing is an issue right now. There are actively right now 61 houses for sale in the under $200,000 range in the city of Beloit, and there are 13 houses in the over $200,000 range in the city of Beloit. So we have a shortage of houses for people to buy. I think financial literacy is also huge. No matter your age, if you want to buy a home, you need to be financially literate and understand the terminology, understand down payments, understand amortization, understand repair escrows, understand the myriad of things that go along with purchasing a home. And also, after you purchase it, maintenance issues and having a financial reserve to take care of those things as well. I think there's opportunities to help people understand everything it takes to be able to be a homeowner.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Ms. Forbeck?
Well, here again, if you're concerned about partnerships or pushing partnerships, I absolutely agree. And of course, we have a large, really large staffed housing division within the city. And I can't say for sure, but of course we have to bring in our lenders when we are doing this kind of outreach and information. So to make sure that there are not then problems once they learn and the city has worked with them, making sure that they can in fact get a loan and know what they're doing when they do that. So I see a great, great opportunity, if it isn't already happening, for the city housing division and our lenders to get together and work on this issue.
I believe that educating the public about home ownership is important and very important for people just starting out who have not owned a home before, whatever age they happen to be. I think improving communications overall will help because there are programs and there is funding available, not just for home buyers, but for improving our housing stock. The better the neighborhood appears, the more likely it is that someone will want to settle in it. So I do think that keeping an eye on the bigger picture is just as important as encouraging the individuals who are looking to buy homes. The better our community appears, the more people we will attract, and the more people...
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address? Ms. Kelly?
I'm going off of what Sherry said about how the neighborhood appears. We have a large percentage of neighborhoods that are mostly rental. It is very difficult to maintain a home, an old home. It is even more difficult to maintain a house as a rental. It just takes a lot of work. So it's very difficult to have that look like it's that you live there, and it's the appearance changes because you can't do it all. I think it's hard to young people don't want to buy houses. They need a lot of work. So it's not like, you want to buy a house. Some people just don't want to buy a house. I mean, there's a huge percentage of the population, not just here, but nationwide, that are renting as people are movable and they need housing. So it doesn't just have to be home ownership. We need to there's that middle place where we're looking for houses.
Sorry, time is up.
Okay, time is up.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? The next question will go to Ms. Forbeck. Another component of the strategic plan that the council and the city manager are charged with is to engage the community. As a potential member of the city council, how would you address this component of the strategic plan, engaging the community?
Wow. Okay, that's a good question because it's really my passion, I guess, making sure that communication is happening. I think we've already mentioned some things. Rose has talked about inviting people in when there are commission meetings or times when we want to make sure that our citizens are actually participating and being able to learn what's going on within the city. So I think the more times that council people and certainly our city manager can be out in the community, I know how important it is. For example, when we have the Beloit Night Out, how much it means to people. I've talked to people who've participated in getting their neighborhood working on that, and how wonderful it is when the city manager or some city council people stop by. It's really, really meaningful. So we have to be aware, and I think we need to be really held accountable to make sure that we're out and as often as we can be to places where citizens are. And I think that's the way we can have a two-way conversation together with all of the other written word and electronically, social media word, etc. People need to feel welcomed and informed, and it's essential. And there needs to be, as much as possible, person-to-person communication.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, getting people involved is, sadly, we don't see it as much as we'd like to. When it comes to going to council meetings, to voting, to being out in public. One of the things I'd like to do is continue to knock and meet the people of Beloit. If I'm elected, I'm going to continue to knock on houses and have one-on-one discussions with people of Beloit, inviting them to as many things as possible. Having that private session with them might motivate them to come out because they'll feel welcomed and they'll feel like an individual instead of going to a big event and having us address them as a big group. So I think individual talking to someone face-to-face is going to be the best way to get somebody activated and get them out to anything when it comes to council meetings, to public events, to commission meetings.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Yes, Ms. Kelly.
Yes. Within the last year, the city has started doing these community conversations, and I think it's been very successful. I mean, they've varies in attendance, but I think we need to continue to do that. And they've done some in Spanish, so I think we need to continue to keep doing that as just a matter of course. Not, sometimes we try things and you stop, but I think this is one of those things that need to continue to hear from the people. People need to know you, be able to be heard of those.
Thank you. Ms. Blakeley.
I have learned a lot through this campaign for City Council. Some of those things have been mentioned by other people, such as knocking on people's doors. I've had some wonderful conversations along the way, from the older gentleman on the west side of town who lauded the police department for being so kind and professional after he witnessed a fatal accident, to the woman at Grinnell Hall who spoke to me about wanting some more attention from the city. I would like to engage more people by suggesting mini town halls held every now and then, very casual, at local eateries, like Bagels and More or Bushel and Peck downtown, or one of our other fine little restaurants. Just a chance to meet and greet some city councilors and talk to them on a super casual basis. I think that might help quite a bit to help people feel more engaged and feel personally invited into our city government.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Yes, please.
I think one other way to make sure there's more community engagement is to raise awareness of opportunities for people to volunteer and participate in local organizations, but also to become a member of the election volunteer team. And then also invite more people to actually come to meetings and to meet the people that work in City Hall. I've had several meetings with a lot of different people in City Hall, and I found them to be very receptive and very open to meeting with me. I think if more people in the city knew that people who work here are open to conversations with residents, then I think they'd be more likely to come to them with concerns, and I think they'd be more comfortable talking to them and attending events and meetings where they would be there.
Thank you. The next question will be directed to Mr. Anderson. One component of the City of Beloit strategic plan is to create and sustain a positive image of the community. As a potential member of the City Council, how would you address this component of the strategic plan, creating a positive image?
Well, I think step one is to collaborate with the schools. I think that's something we really need to do. They've had a lot of press lately, and I think combining with them and discussing what we can do to help the kids of the city of Beloit. I'd like to have us have some recreational opportunities to help the kids. That's a great way to change that image. You know, the common statistic is that most kids get in trouble between 3 and 5 p.m. on a weekday. So we should try to do something as a city of Beloit to provide them with recreation. You know, if it comes to recreational athletics, that, you know, we would find people willing to give up some time every day to just kind of go out and maybe set up teams and have them play games just to keep them out of trouble. That would change the image. Let's get this wholesome community feeling back into Beloit. And I think just doing something as small as that is a really great way to change that image. Making everybody feel at home, giving somebody and everybody something to do in the city of Beloit is a great way to change that image.
Ms. Forbeck?
Well, again, speaking from experience, I think somehow bringing people in here, I've had this happen countless times for meetings when I was at the Chamber of Commerce or when I was running Riverfest the first 6 years. People would come in and nearly everybody would say, "Oh my gosh, I just didn't expect Beloit to be like this." Aha. Why? You know, what was such a surprise? Come on and see. And then they are our great image changers when they go back to their community. So again, we need to be aware of when people come in, maybe have very easy through the Convention Visitors Bureau or something, somebody to meet them, and don't even need to talk us up. Just
Sorry,
show people.
The time is up. Thank you. Yes, Ms.
So that brings me to a little story here. During BIF, they had a film called The Bear and the Owl, and it was very popular. It showed like 6 times to sell out crowds. And it was about Bob Jensen, who was a former superintendent of Clinton. And he brought a lot of people from Clinton that hadn't been here in many years. And over again, we heard they could not believe the transformation of Beloit. I think these events that bring people here to see what's happening in Beloit is going to be our greatest advertising.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Blakeley.
I would like to highly recommend the programs that the library is already doing. As a part of city government, I will no longer be able to work there, but I'll probably continue to be a big hanger-outer at the library. They promote literacy in the community. I know our school board would love to collaborate more with the city council. I was speaking both to Tia Johnson and Lori Endress the other day, and they have some great ideas for collaborating with council members that I'd like to see us take up so that we could have these interactive programs regarding literacy and also help kids in the arts and music and sports.
Thank
Full
you.
stop.
Thank you. And the last, oh no, go ahead, Ms. Richards.
I think one way to improve our image from outside communities would be to work with other communities to put on events that draw in large crowds of people, so that we're working with other communities and their residents are coming to Beloit and they're seeing how beautiful Beloit is and how diverse it is, and all the different events that we have. I mean, we have the farmers market already, which is pretty amazing and brings in a lot of people. I think encouraging things like that we already have and making sure that they keep happening would be a really great way to continue improving our image.
Thank you. The last question will be given to Ms. Hansen. What would you recommend to improve the collaboration and communication between the school board and the city council, specifically regarding truancy policy.
I think when people think of Beloit, they think of us as a whole. They don't see the city council different from the school board, even though we are. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the school board and city council to get together and have listening sessions to each other. We need to know, have a better grasp of the problems that they're facing, and they need to know from the council side what our issues are as well. Because when it comes down to it, we're all Beloit, and our future is our kids. We have to do schools right. There are as we all age, they're the upcoming generations that are going to be living here and working here and being Beloit. As far as truancy goes, it's a problem when kids don't go to school, and if parents are working and they just assume that their kids are in school, sometimes there is just lack of supervision. Better communication with the parents, having contact phone numbers, letting parents know if their kids missed a class even, not even a whole day, but you know, your student missed a class. Just more communication between parents and the school district, and then I'm sure they have policy on what happens when kids miss a certain amount of days, and that policy has to be followed.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Mr. Anderson and then Ms. Forbeck.
Yeah, one way we can collaborate is having, when we have people out from the city of Beloit checking to find out people that maybe have warrants, and they go to a house that is unoccupied, they can actually communicate with the schools and say, that student obviously is not inside the city of Beloit, so then we don't need to issue a truancy ticket. We often, don't talk to the city. We treat them as separate entities, the schools and city do. So communicating is one thing. And also the opportunity of, busing, free busing would be something that would be really great to do. Giving those kids opportunities, because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to take a kid to school because of, if it comes to, different issues of having multiple jobs, so they can't get the kid at school on time. So providing a way to give them free busing with the city of Beloit might be something that we should really go into.
Thank you. Ms. Forbeck?
Well, I'm very aware that we're all really concerned about lots of probably issues with our school system, a school system that's really near and dear to my heart. But we really need, when we are cooperating or bringing up ideas, we have to have our teachers and our principals with us and our parents to tell us what's really happening there. I happened to serve when I was on the convention or on the Chamber of Commerce. There was a group that was meeting bi-weekly to deal with truancy, and the police chief was there, and the city attorney, and about 7 really well-intentioned
I'm
people.
sorry, time. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address Ms. Kelly?
So the truancy issues come up before, and it's a very difficult issue because last time they tried to solve the truancy issue, bringing in the city, it turned out to be a bigger problem down the road for some of these kids. So I think it's something that needs to be looked at again, but I'm not sure what the solution is. I think there still needs to be talk, but the prior solution created worse problems. So I don't think there's many things going on at the school. There's many ways that they're communicating. I have kids in the school. I know how they follow up. They call every day. Somebody's missing. There's lots of things happening.
I'm sorry, time is up. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Yes, Ms. Blakeley.
I know that collaborating on that issue of truancy and also juvenile justice is important to the school district, to the school board, and I know that they would appreciate our help with that. I don't know that we necessarily need to get involved legally, but we have a big voice and a big opportunity to inform the community and to access information from the community. I don't mean in the sense of ratting out some kid who's having a hard time and electing to skip school. I mean in the sense of supporting the people in the neighborhoods, supporting individual families, perhaps turning to the churches, but giving people voice and giving people a forum where they can let their concerns and ideas be known.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? Yes, Ms. Richard.
I think we definitely need to shift the burden of the punishment away from the student and more towards the parents. It's their responsibility to make sure their students are in school. And I think we should have more collaborative meetings with the school board rather than try and do their job for them.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? I will now begin with questions from the audience. Audience questions will be directed to the candidate whose name is randomly selected by the moderator. Candidates are reminded of the 2-minute response time and the 30-minute response time if you choose to answer the same question.
Excuse me, Mr. Moderator, did you say 30 minutes?
30 seconds. Thank you. You know, it was a test to see if anyone was listening to me. You thought you caught me. You did. Thank you. The first question, if elected, would you be in favor of passing an ordinance that extends protection to all city employees, similar to the one that was adopted in Janesville by the school board on October 25th, 2016, and also by the City Council on December 12th, 2016. The ordinance requires city employers to follow escalating steps of discipline before suspending or terminating an employee. The ordinance gives all city employees just cause protection as a 7-step procedure. And that question will go to Ms. Kelly.
So I recently had an interview with the labor unions in Janesville, and they brought this up. And the truth is that I always thought that city governments had that as their practice. I was not aware that that was not true. I don't see, unless there's something that I'm missing, because I have not looked at it further enough, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't offer our employees that protection. Now, I tell you the truth, I haven't taken the time to find out why wouldn't it be a good idea. They used to be protected, I think, because they were protected employees. Now they're not. I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't give them that security. That's my answer.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer? Mr. Anderson, please remember the 30-second response time.
Yeah, I'm an advocate of this because if we just let employees go with any odd reason, we will create a hostile work environment which is not going to provide the best employees to come to the city of Beloit. I've paid attention closely to what the city of Janesville has done. I've had contacts with a lot of people in the city council up in Janesville, and I've listened to how they've done this and what they've approached with it. And I see it as a great thing to do to make the employees feel safe so they actually can do what they need to do, which is help the citizens of Beloit and provide the best services possible. So yes, I'm a strong advocate of this. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address? Ms. Blakeley first, and then Ms. Forbeck.
Yes, I favor just cause when it comes to employer-employee relations. I think it's not only heartless, but it should be illegal to just be able to summarily dismiss somebody just because the employer got up on the wrong side of the bed or thinks that the employee reminds them of a cousin they used to hate, whatever the reason is. I think just cause and the 7 steps of it are perfectly logical. When you look at them, they are just a matter of common sense and good relationships with employees.
Ms. Forbeck.
Well, I agree with what everyone has said. However, I have to say, having been a boss and realizing that firing is, oh my goodness, the most difficult thing you ever have to do, I am also surprised that there is at-will firing within the city, and I do feel I'd have to talk to Lori, I guess, about this and see, how this has changed. I guess it's because...
Time. I'm sorry. Anyone else wishing to respond? The next question. In light of new state law and results of a recent lawsuit, how do you propose to keep up high standards for rental properties in Beloit and deal with landlords who don't maintain their properties? And that question will go to Ms. Hansen.
The 2016 law changed some things regarding inspections and fees. I won't go into all the details because we don't have all the details yet. There are still laws and ordinances in place to deal with problem properties, especially from the outside. There always has been. That hasn't changed. Tenants, residents can call and complain. That hasn't changed. There are ways to keep our housing stock a good stock, and there's also the right of the tenant not to rent a house that they don't like, that doesn't meet their standards, and they don't want to live in. A lot of that the market can decide, and if a property owner has a substandard property and can't get it rented, they'll have no choice but to make improvements to that property. The rest will have to be determined when we know for sure all the ins and outs of the way the judge is changing the city's ordinance that didn't comply with state law. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Ms. Richard?
I think every resident who has a rental unit who is renting a rental unit should receive a copy of the inspection checklist so that they know what they need to look for to make sure that their unit is up to code. I think we need to make sure that the people who live in rental units are given protections so that they feel comfortable reporting things that may be wrong, and so that if there is anything that comes up, they feel comfortable talking to their landlord first, and then if nothing happens after that, so that they feel comfortable going to the city.
Time. Ms. Kelly?
I feel that anything that prevents the city from registering and inspecting rental property hurts our community. Our most vulnerable populations, people living in poverty and who have language barriers, are at the greatest risk of retaliation. I think people are not willing, they're not going to call the city if they're rental unit if they're afraid for themselves. We have people who will not call if they think they're not going to have a place to live. I think it should be for everybody. So there's no judgment if everybody, all the rental units get inspected.
Time. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, the fact is it's going to make it tough now. And to have the tenants go up and complain is going to create a hostile thing between them and the people that own the rental properties. The thing is, I've been knocking on a lot of houses, and some people have told me they live in rentals, and I am appalled at what the living conditions would be. I don't think anyone who owns those rentals would live in any of those rental properties they own, and we need to find a way to hold them accountable. Because we need to have the best quality of living in Beloit, and right now that's holding us back.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Yes, Ms. Blakeley.
I do think accountability is important, and counting on our landlords to be responsible is very important. Not everybody is a responsible person, of course, but I think many of the people, many of the property managers in Beloit are responsible people. The more that they receive positive attention and the more negative attention that goes out, the more negative publicity that goes out about properties that are not being well maintained, the more likely things are to turn to the better. Essentially, I'm offer carrots before you wave the stick kind of person, but I do believe we need some form of accountability.
Time. Thank you. Ms. Forbeck?
I better say something. Everybody else has. You know, this has just come down, and I believe I'm correct. It has not been written yet. I think this new decision on the state law versus the Beloit law for this, I'm very concerned about it. I grew up at 1211 Emerson Street, and of course, I look at that house a lot. And for a while, it was a rental, and now it has been purchased. So,
I'm sorry. Time.
Golly.
30 seconds goes by quickly. Anyone else wishing to respond? Okay. The next question. People who don't live in the city cannot be as interested in its progress. Would it be important to encourage residency in the city? And that question will go to Ms. Blakeley.
Yes, I think it's important to encourage people who work here to live in the city. It can't always be done, of course, and we have special problems in that regard because we're a border town. You know, some of the things that don't apply, that would apply rather to a community like Wausau or Madison, don't necessarily apply to Beloit because we're right next to Illinois. It's so easy for someone who lives in Rockford, Roscoe, South Beloit to hold a job here in Beloit. I believe that encouragement is essential. I think that making Beloit a more positive way will encourage more people to live here. I don't think right now it can be a requirement for an employee, whether it's a city employee or a requirement for new employers coming here, such as in industry. But I think we need to strongly encourage that.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address Ms. Forbeck?
We do need to encourage, and I know people get really offended when people, especially in leadership, have chosen not to live in Beloit. But I'm telling you, there was a time when at the Chamber of Commerce we had a staff of 6, and 5 did not live in Beloit. 1 was in Rockford, 1 was in Janesville, 3 were in the townships. So, but boy, they were there, they were engaged, they cared, they were bright.
I'm sorry. Time. Anyone else wishing to respond? Ms. Kelly.
So, yes, we need to encourage people to come live in Beloit. That's a given. I mean, how do we do that? Maybe we hopefully get the realtors on board to take them through the city. I mean, the city has that concierge already in place. that it's in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce and the Great Beloit Economic Development, and they're in charge of showing Beloit to be potential future employees in the city. Another thing is maybe we can try to see if we can have some
partnership. Time. Anyone else wishing to respond? 30 seconds.
I just want to push back a little about the assumption that people who don't live in Beloit but work here don't care as much. I have met so many people that have raved and praised Beloit, and they don't live here, but they see all the wonderful things we have. They see the parks, they see the programs that we have, and they love Beloit. And I think all we need to do to encourage residency is make sure that we keep these things that are bringing people to Beloit strong and steady, and residency will come from there.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? The next question: what specific community outreach should the council focus to increase engagement to diverse populations? And that question will go to Mr. Anderson.
You know, one thing I've noticed is if any of you go downtown, it is almost all white. So I think one thing we need to do is talk to people who lead in different communities of different backgrounds and see what kind of events they would like to do. Let's reach out to them and try to get them involved, because right now, you know, when Visit Beloit does a lot of things, you would almost think this was an all-white community. And we need to change that right now, because, you know, we want to pledge and talk about how diverse this community is, but then when we put out ads and we talk about how great the city is, and we show a bunch of videos, it's all white. So, like I said, we need to talk to the people who lead in the Black, Latino, and any community that we can think of and see what kind of events they would want, and let's try to tie them all in and have one big event inside the city of Beloit that everybody can enjoy.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing? Ms. Forbeck?
I can attest to the fact that two of the businesses downtown really attract a diverse group of people who come and buy their product, and it's our two candy stores. Okay, we live right in downtown, and I'm telling you, I love it. It is not only diversity as far as race goes, it is teenagers, it is little kids, it is older people. So much to my surprise, because this is also what we've worried about.
I'm sorry, time is up. Anyone else wishing to respond? Ms. Richards.
I think there are a lot of people from different backgrounds who already put on events. And I think maybe more people maybe more people who are white should be going to these events, going to these businesses and supporting these people. I think we should make them feel like they have a place in politics, that they're welcome and accepted and encouraged to participate in social organizations and volunteer. I think what we need to do is find the people that are already putting on events, people of color, specifically, and go there.
Time is up. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Blakeley.
One reason my husband and I decided to settle in Beloit is because of the diversity of the community. I myself am a member of the NAACP, which is not limited to just Black people or just African Americans. I like Rose's idea of attending events and organizations that already exist, that are not going to slam the door in your face because you're the wrong color. So I believe that as ambassadors, we should be out there doing that ourselves and encourage that in our community. And why do I have a sudden craving for candy?
I'm sorry. Time is up. Anyone else wishing to respond? Ms. Kelly.
So there's lots of things going on here, but people are really busy, and they're going to do the things that they want to do. I've gone to all kinds of activities and I've always felt welcome on all of them. I think people in Beloit will welcome you, no matter who's running the activity. So you bring the activity, and people if that's what they have time to do, that's what they'll do. So you just have to keep trying, but I don't think we're doing anything wrong.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to respond? The next question. The Canadian oil company Enbridge is proposing a new and larger tar sands pipeline through Wisconsin. A possible spill could impact the Rock River and Turtle Creek. Do you have any thoughts on this topic? And that question will go to Ms. Richards.
I think that we should prioritize energy sources that do not threaten our water source. And by that, I mean solar panels. Alliant Energy is building a new solar panel field right now. And I think those are the sources of energy that we should be supporting rather than sources that are dangerous to our health and that continue us on a dependence of dirty fossil fuels.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to answer the question? Yes, Ms. Blakeley.
I do think we need to be wary of that proposal. Our water table is one of our most valuable resources, and something with possible negative ramifications to our water should be looked at with extreme scrutiny.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about the Enbridge pipeline. A lot of people didn't know it existed until recently. The Enbridge pipeline actually goes by Delavan, so it's pretty close. And, it's actually one of the biggest pipelines in the country. So we need to make people know that of its existence and talk about the potential risks and let the citizens really get involved in the process if they want it, if they don't want it. Because, we've seen a lot of press about, Dakota Access Pipeline, but we have a pipeline close to home, and I think we need to really address that one too.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address that question? Thank you. The next question, what budget issues do you foresee in the next 2 years? And that question will go to Ms. Forbeck, who has 2 minutes.
Well, in talking to people during my campaign, I'm very aware that, like many other cities, we have an extremely tight budget. And I have a feeling that, I don't know this because I haven't talked to Lori about this, but I have a feeling there's going to be some issues coming up about people's health plans. So we have 2 things here. How do we get more revenue in without burdening our residents? And also then, how do we keep up the payments that I was privy to the fourth quarter financials, and this last year, the city of Beloit had a mammoth amount of healthcare claims, very, very large. So I don't know the details yet, but I'm anxious, if elected, to be able to go find out the details about this. But I suspect that's going to be an issue coming up, if not this budget, future budgets. Prioritizing is always difficult. So, do we keep paying attention to some of the things that really helps quality of life, like our parks, or do we only concentrate on those things that are so personal, like salary and health care? It's going to be tough. We are not a wealthy city, and I'm anxious to be of help in these decisions.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address that question? Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, we have a budget issue coming up. Also, the state potentially looking at the way to change the state shared revenue. At least 60% of the budget comes from that in the city of Beloit. So we really need to find ways to increase revenue. So some of the ways we can do that is, checking everything on the budget and really putting everything on the table. Also, potentially renegotiating TIF districts might be a way to increase that tax base we need. Because right now, with us having such little money, we need to do just about anything possible to increase revenue. Preferably, it wouldn't be on the backs of the employees, though.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address? Yes, Ms. Hansen.
I think there may be opportunities that haven't been explored for grant money and for other outsources of income besides taxing the citizens over and over again to try to meet the budget. I definitely understand it's going to be tight and everything will be on the table and looked at. Just to be fair, you can't have any pet projects or any sacred cows. Everything has to be looked at as a whole because the whole budget affects the whole city.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the question? Ms. Blakeley.
I'm happy that City Council is given quite a bit of time to work through the budget because it is extremely challenging. People are our biggest cost in so many ways, and people are the most important aspect of funding. I was glad to notice that our city manager sought more grants last year that came through for us. That's very important. I do think that it's possible for us to work our way toward a thoughtful budget that does not brutalize people.
Time is up. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the question? Yes.
The health insurance, I think, is going to be a big one. I also think we have negotiations with the fire and police coming up, and that's one of the biggest chunks of our budget. So that's going to take a huge role in how the budget goes.
Thank you. Anyone else? The timekeeper has informed me that that's the end of the questions from the audience, and I do apologize for those who I wasn't able to give to the candidates. Each candidate will now have the opportunity to give closing remarks. Closing remarks will be limited to 2 minutes, and we will begin with Mr. Anderson.
Well, thank you to everybody who is in attendance right now and everybody who is watching and everybody who is going to watch this. I'd also like to thank my mom and dad, Donna and Danny, who decided to come tonight. I really appreciate that. Also, coming up with the election, I really hope that you guys will cast a ballot my way. I've got a lot of good ideas. I'm young and I got a lot of, potential thought processes that might come onto the council. I'm wanting to be invested in Beloit because I want to have a family in Beloit someday, just as my mom and dad did with me. Some of the things I really want to do is just change that image because, like I said, a lot of people that come into the Beloit city that have moved in have this glowing image of Beloit. But sadly, a lot of lifelong residents don't see it that way. So my goal is to really change that because Beloit is a beautiful city, it's a great city, and I wouldn't pick any place else to live, but we need to get everybody else on that same page. So thank you to everybody who watched.
Thank you. Ms. Blakeley.
I've lived in Beloit since 1974, having grown up in a working class family in Rockford, and then going on to graduate from Beloit College. I've been a professional writer for many years, and I also work at Beloit Library. I've interviewed and helped people from a lot of different walks of life in Beloit. For interviews, I've talked to everybody from a local funeral home director who volunteers big time for Beloit. Think Rib Fest. I should have had dinner. I spoke to a grandmother who successfully fought back cancer to extend her life, who's very invested in Beloit and our healthcare system. I interviewed Mitt Romney when he ran for president, and then I talked to protesters against Donald Trump when he came to Rock County last summer. I've interviewed business owners, like people who offered skydiving lessons, for instance. I am running for city council to put Beloit on the map in a positive way. I hope to be elected. I hope to get your votes in order to represent residents from all of Beloit's diverse neighborhoods. Everybody wants to feel safe and prosperous, and we all need a voice in how our city is run. I believe as a professional communicator, I can help discover the common ground where listening, hearing, and then needed change can take place. I'm not afraid to ask questions, to interrupt, or to stand up and speak out. It's time. I promise to work hard for Beloit, and please consider voting for me on Tuesday, April 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Forbeck.
Thank you for being here, and of course I would really appreciate your vote on April 4th. having worked on many campaigns and actually having run this very event when I was at the chamber, I've never run for anything before, and I have to say it's humbling and actually really exciting. I started out because a couple people asked if I would consider running, and after I think for only about 30 seconds, I said, you know what? I would like to do that. But I'm even more excited right now about the possibility of winning and being able to be here and really do what I've done all my life. Let's help everybody. Let's be inclusive. Let's partner. Let's work together. West Side, East Side, young, old, black, white, Hispanic. I mean, Beloit is such an unusual community. I don't think we know how great we are as we volunteer. The very first Riverfest in 1988, we had one staff person, and guess who showed up? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of you did to help volunteer. So I know how good we are. I'd like to be a part of keeping us good.
Thank you. Ms. Hansen.
I'd like to start by thanking the NAACP, the Chamber, and the League of Women Voters for putting on this event once again. I've appreciated being on the other side and watching other council candidates interview. Like I've mentioned before, I'm a Beloit native. My family has been here for generations. I have a long volunteer history through my church, through other organizations. I'm a small business owner. I understand the struggles that small business owners face on a day-to-day basis. I also have extensive retail management experience. I've been a sales manager, I've been an operations manager, I've had to hire, I've had to fire, I've had to motivate, and I've also had to hold people accountable for the jobs that they were required to do. I have the time and the qualifications to be an effective city councilor. And I want to see, as we all do, Beloit be the best that it can be. And I will appreciate your vote on April 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, and the Great Beloit Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event again this year. I came to this country when I was 12 and I didn't know how to speak English. In 1991, I became a citizen, and it was then that I was able to vote. Being born under a government where participation is not allowed, I value my privilege of voting and engaging. I served in the city council for 2 years. I know the players. I know how the city council works. I will be able to jump in and get to work. I am a mother, a relationship builder. I'm a master juggler. I have relationships with young people and cross generations. I am flexible, approachable, and open to listening. I'm a business owner. I understand financial planning and budgeting. I understand economic development, how important it is to attracting people and business to the city. I have extensive experience in digital communications. As a web developer marketer, I stay current with digital technologies. I am bilingual. The other issue that I'm passionate about is Beloit housing and development and beautifying the community. I have participated in many activities within the last 12 years since we've been in Beloit. I brought 5 children here out of my 9 children when I came to Beloit in 2005. I would like my children to go and come back to Beloit and live in Beloit and raise their families in Beloit. Let's see. I thank you for the opportunity to share my love of community and Beloit, and appreciate your vote on April 4th.
Thank you. Ms. Richard.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you to the organizers for putting this forum on. I am so happy to have had the opportunity to run for this office. This is something I never thought I would be able to do. I did not think that a person as young as me would be taken seriously and given the chance to speak, and also given the chance to inspire my peers to participate in government. And so I think I deserve your vote because I want to actually make this happen. I want young people to see me and to realize that this is their responsibility, that this is their city, and that they have a huge role in making it a place they want to stay. It was a big decision for me to decide to stay in Beloit and to move here and to make this my home. And I've been welcomed and brought into circles I never thought I would be in. And I want to give back because it's meant the world to me that people have given me this chance to participate. And this is why I want to be a city councilor, because I'm so thankful for what I've been given, and I want to give back. And I want to show others, my peers, that they can and should also give back. So I would really appreciate your vote on April 4th. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you. I would like to thank each candidate for their participation in tonight's forum. Thanks to the League of Women Voters of Beloit, the NAACP Beloit Chapter, and the Greater Beloit Area Chamber of Commerce for providing this opportunity, and thank you members of the audience for your active participation. Thank you.